Almighty God and Father, we ask you to give us the courage today to vote on the issues that are coming before us. And we ask you to put all politics aside and do the best for the community of the Kankakee County. We ask this in your name, our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The roll call by
Mr. Tripp. Present. Mr. Washington.
Present.
Mr. Lejettes.
Present.
Mr. Stauffenberg. Mr. Whitten. Present. Mrs. Bernard.
Present.
Mr. Marcotte.
Present.
Mr. James.
Present.
Mr. McLaren.
Present.
Mr. Vickery.
Present.
Mrs. Farber. Ms. Hertzberger.
Present.
Mr. Nicholas.
Present.
Mr. Olthoff. Ms. Wiskoski. Mr. Lear.
Present.
Mr. Scholl.
Present.
Mr. Hess.
Present.
Mr. Bossert.
Present.
Mrs. Campbell.
Present.
Mr. Kolecki. Mrs. McBride.
Present.
Mr. Yates.
Present.
Mr. Enns.
Present.
Mr. Wittes.
Present.
Mrs. Wilson.
Present.
Mr. Tholen.
Present.
Mr. Cruz.
Quorum is present. Under public commentary, we have 4 people lined up. This first is Mr. Mark Lockett.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Turn my mic on. Is it on? Okay. No,
Not yet.
Thank you.
not working.
Go fix the deal.
Help me out. Good morning. I'd like to speak to the item on the agenda about lawsuit reform. I just want to speak for the marginalized, the victimized, the people who don't have a voice, because I know that the lobbyists who are pushing for this have a lot of resources to make their argument and make their case. I think it's unusual that this particular thing has been brought to the county board. I think that in order to really, for every member here to really study this issue, it would take some time, and I think that time would be better spent working on the business of the county, because I think in Kankakee County, there aren't a lot of plaintiff verdicts, and the ones that there are aren't real high, if I'm not mistaken. And so I just think it's unusual, and I'd like to see that this issue debated, but perhaps better forum for debate would be something like the YMCA Living and Learning Series or something like that. And if people want to go down to Springfield and lobby for either side of this issue, but have it here at the county board seems to me to be unusual. Thanks.
Thank you. Now instead, Mr. Snipes.
Why don't let Reverend Clark go before me, before the fourth, we're going to work. Huh? Your kindness.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Vincent Clark, and I am the Executive Director of Kankakee County Community Services Incorporated. We are the anti-poverty agency for Kankakee County. On our board, we have 1/3 of the board members who are elected officials that has been appointed by the county board. And I want to thank our board members for representing you all well in seeing that our agency continue to provide services to the low-income individuals who are citizens of Kankakee County. I've been asked by Mr. Ellington Snipes to give a report on some of the activities that we have concluded in our past program year, and I would like to do that at this time. I want to forward tell you that the numbers that I'm giving you are unduplicated counts of client assistance provided through Kankakee County Community Services through federal, state, as well as local grants and also funding that are given to us by private citizens. One of our programs, Rental Assistance, has helped 276 people. That represents 99 households during the 07 program year. We've also provided 191 persons with shelter assistance. We've seen an increase in mortgage assistance requests. During 07, we provided mortgage assistance to 32 households, which is something that we did not do prior to January 1st of 07. We decided to start a food pantry a couple of years ago, and during the fiscal year, we provided 2,231 persons, which is 1,120 households, with assistance with food. We found out that there are children who still were not receiving breakfast during the summertime when school was out, so we provided 116 youth and children with breakfast during the summer. We also know that Catholic Charity is not going to be providing their back-to-school rally this year, so we have partnered with a faith-based organization locally, which has been providing back-to-school activities, a parade, as well as a rally in which they give away school supplies, provide food, and the message of abstinence, staying out of gangs, staying away from drugs and violence, and staying in school. That program is called Project Turnaround. Last year we provided over 800 children with school supplies, and we're looking at partnering also with Gardener of Prayer this year, which is going to almost double the number of children that we have to feed, as well as good school supplies too. We also provide scholarships to low-income students. We did 5 last year. That scholarship average was about $1,000 each to go to a school in the state of Illinois. We provide budget training to 15 individuals so that they will be able to be better stewards of the resources, even though they are limited, that they receive. We also have a computer lab that we had 20 individuals last year to successfully complete our computer training program, in which they are better able to search for a job and be qualified for employment. Those services that we do not provide, we refer to sister agencies within the county. We had 1,988 individuals to receive information and or referral to other services throughout the county. We operate a senior meals program. We have individuals who are senior citizens and they are homebound. That means they cannot get out of their homes. We provided 27,521 meals to homebound senior citizens during our 07 fiscal year. In addition to that, there are some seniors who can get about. We provided 9,045 meals to those seniors. We are grateful to Kankakee Township because they have given us in 07 $5,000 to support this program, as well as $6,000 for the 08 program year. The city of Kankakee has given us $1,500 in 05, $6,000 in 06, $8,580 in 07, and this year we were informed by the CDA that we shall receive $10,000 in 08. We provided 140 seniors with a space where they can come to a senior center every day in the city of Kankakee. The senior program is one that I'm very concerned about because I've gotten word that a local Meals on Wheels program is going to discontinue their services to approximately 70 to 100 senior citizens sometime in August or September. Yes.
About another minute, okay.
Okay.
You gotta wrap it up.
Because of that, we know that our numbers for home delivered meals is going to double. Weatherization, applying weatherization measures on homes. We did 75 homes in 06, 66 in 07, 64 in 08. We have a waiting list of 300 families. Live heat, we usually do 3,600 applications each year. This year we did 3,072. Among those families, 200 were denied, so that's 2,872 approved, 10 furnaces. And on March the 17th, the state told us to discontinue applications. So we had to call 240 applicants and cancel their appointments. I'm sharing this information with you because I know you're concerned about low-income people, you're concerned about those in poverty, and I think that's information that you will need to have to make decisions for the future. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next is Mr. McClure.
Jump up. Can't have another word.
Good morning, I'm Tom McClure. My daughter is distributing copies of my comments so you can follow along. I've got all my sources footnoted so you know where I'm coming from. Today's agenda includes the Illinois lawsuit reform resolution. The resolution contains deceptive information. Passage of the resolution could ultimately harm Kankakee County citizens. There are 4 statements in the resolution that are misleading. The first statement reads that Illinois is ranked as one of the worst, 45th out of 50, in the country for lawsuit abuse. This conclusion is not the result of an objective scientific study. Instead, it is the perception of 957 corporate attorneys interviewed by the Harris poll. Each attorney was employed by a company that generated an annual income of at least $100 million. These are lawyers that protect and defend large corporations when they are sued by consumers and employees. Polling corporate lawyers is analogous to asking criminal defendants the question, which state's criminal justice system is the most unfair? The biased opinion of corporate lawyers should not form the basis of a Kankakee County Board policy statement. Second, the resolution states that lawsuit abuse threatens employers and jobs across the state of Illinois and here in Kankakee County. The current civil justice system does not jeopardize employment in this county. Current data show that the number of jobs in Kankakee County has grown significantly and is projected to continue to grow. Between 1990 and 2000, Kankakee County jobs increased by over 12,000. This is a 29.8% increase as contrasted with a 20.4% increase in the state. An even greater increase is projected for the future. It is folly to suggest that the Kankakee County jobs are being threatened because of our justice system. Third, the resolution states that the average Illinois citizen pays an estimated $880 per year due to the cost of lawsuits. This claim is based on a study released by the research firm of Tillinghast. Business Week characterizes the study as misleading. According to Business Week, the Tillinghast tallied everything from no-fault fender-bender claims to the top executive salaries to calculate the cost of the tort system. Salaries of insurance companies' CEOs are no small sum. Forbes.com lists 25 insurance companies' CEOs in its top 400 executive pay list. Annual pay for insurance executive ranges from $3 million to nearly $28 million for the Aflac CEO. When profits increase, CEOs receive substantial bonuses. For instance, last year, the Insurance Journal reported that the chairman and chief executive officer of State Farm Insurance earned a results-based bonus of $9.89 million for the year. Therefore, the cost of $880 per person is a gross exaggeration. Fourth, the proposal states that the Kankakee County employers are threatened by the Illinois legislature's failure to enact meaningful comprehensive lawsuit reform. However, the problem facing employers is not possible lawsuits. According to a survey of small and mid-sized businesses, rising inflation, the trade deficit, and collapse of the dollar and energy shortages are the 3 issues that pose the greatest threats to their success. The businesses polled had 500 or fewer employees and revenues ranging from $250,000 to more than $5 million. 67% of those surveyed said that they do not believe or were not sure whether tort reform would benefit companies of their size. Other surveys have yielded similar findings. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce conducted a telephone poll last week that might suggest the opposite from what I'm saying. I received a telephone call. I was polled. The questions that were presented were not in an objective manner. Instead, the poll promoted the Chamber's position on changing the court system. If you are provided with the Chamber poll results, I caution you to review the findings with skepticism. The resolution before you was also authored by the Chamber. It is ambiguous. The resolution does not state what type of lawsuit reform should be adopted. Will the resolution be used to argue that there should be a cap on the amount of money that a family of a victim killed by a drunk driver can receive? We don't know. Will the resolution be used to argue against multi-million-dollar class action suits, like the one filed by Limestone Township residents against a large oil company that contaminated their drinking water? I don't know, but I suspect that 957 corporate lawyers who rank Illinois as one of the worst states for lawsuit abuse might like to see that happen. There's between 1,300 and 1,400 claims by Limestone residents. This could potentially create a problem for people in their situation. So don't let the United States Chamber of Commerce promote the interests of multinational corporations over the interests of our own citizens. Thank you very much.
Last is Mr. Snipes. Do you want to talk yet, or did you give your subject?
Oh, no, I had to talk again. To the chairman, his executive staff, and then to the members of the board. I don't think I really need the mic, but to paraphrase President Robert F. Kennedy, with my emphasis added, ask not what you can do for yourselves, but rather ask what you can do for your community. In your prayer this morning, I heard Red Marquardt say these words. He says in his prayer, the courage to do what's right for our community. And that's what I'm here for today, is the courage to do what's right. Some years ago, you placed me about 5 years ago on a board, and I thank you for that opportunity to represent you up on that board. And from time to time, I will come in and give you an update. And Reverend Clark, which is our executive director, has so eloquently gave you the statistics. But what I want you to do today is, when I was at one of the workshops dealing with the board, they basically stated that the government should have, because it's not mandatory, but the governments should be contributing to the to your organization, because you're going after federal and state dollars or whatever for the community, and that has not been reflected in our accounting records. And so I asked at the other board member, Ed Mitz, and many of the other ones that was there, have we ever asked the county board? And the question was no. The township contributes, as you see. You found out that Kankakee contributes because they have a vast number. The work that we're doing in Pembroke, wherever, these dollars go directly back. Matter of fact, the young lady that, one of the young ladies that received our scholarship from Olivet, went to Olivet, that you saw in the paper, went from poverty to now holding a master's degree, and now in the work world. And I don't know about you, but the government statistics says even if we save one youth from the system, it saves the taxpayers $1.5 million. So what I'm asking you to do today is I'm asking that there's a motion on the floor and a second, maybe up on a new business later on today, for you all to set aside at least $10,000, at least match the city, so that this work can go on as reflected, because the county ordained KCCSI. And so therefore, for others to contribute and we don't, it's like counterproductive. And so today I'm urging you to basically, it's a very small amount compared to the dollar amount, the 1.5 million that we get. But as you know, there's a great need in our community dealing with this war on poverty or whatever. And so the greatest need is spread abroad. Those individuals that get subsidized heating because they can't pay these huge heating bills, that's what KCCSI do, or whatever. The electric bills, water bills, they're doing the 20 homes that was out in Pembroke, providing over in Bourbonnais for the assistance in gas for those individuals that's, again, poor. So it's all the way around in the Limestone Township. And what I'm asking you to do is, in short, it's probably about the shortest speech I'm going to give, is to basically set aside $10,000 a year, so that it shows up on our records or whatever, and this money directly goes back to helping individuals in Kankakee County. Thank you.
Thank you. The last of the public comment. We have no communications for vacancy appointments. We do have certificates of recognition. Jason is here.
Go to the back one.
Jason is from our IS department. Actually, I believe you were working in maybe the clerk's office, or the recorder's office, I mean, but he's been working in our IS department now. he's one of them that has to come in on like evenings, weekends, whatever else, when bad weather hits, to make sure that everything's up and running, or when servers go down, to get everything back up and running. So Jason, on behalf of your 5 years of service, Kankakee County thanks you, and hopefully we'll have many more years to come. We have Miss Lampley here. Actually, if Jean would like to come up, and Linda. Okay, Linda's not here, but you're going to accept it. These two have also 5 years of service in the Recorder's Office. On behalf of Kankakee County, thank you very much for your dedication down there. I know you just got Denny trained, and now he's going to be leaving, so you're going to have to train somebody new. So, but on behalf of all the work that you do, thank you very much. Did you want to say something nice about us? Or you can say something bad about them, too.
They're very good employees.
Okay.
I'll miss them tremendously.
Do we have anybody here from the Sheriff's Department besides Tim?
Oh,
I see Mr. DeYoung here from Highway. As soon as I find his. Got it. Andy, if you want to come up. Jim, if you want to come up. I know you have some great things you'll say about him too. So.
Your speech ready? Yeah, thank you. And
Andy, on behalf of your 15 years from the highway, I'm sure things have changed a little bit over time since you started here, but thank you for all the work that you do, keeping our county highways in top-notch shape. I know we've discussed this many times on highway, what Route 45 looks like, and we don't have any county highways that look like that. So, but it's a lot of testament of the job that staff does and that you do. So thank you very much for everything you do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a hoot for me because a long time ago, when I was back in the private sector, I worked with Andrew's father before Andrew was born. Andrew's dad is a longtime equipment operator, worked for Azzarelli Construction for years, now later Kankakee Valley Construction Company, now semi-retired. And I knew his dad before he was born, and then later when my wife and I bought our first home, it was right next door. So I watched Andrew and his twin brother Anthony grow up. Both of them went to Southern Illinois University, got their construction technology degree, Bachelor of Science in Construction Technology, and returned to the construction industry in Kankakee County. His brother works for Kankakee Valley Construction Company now. So it's been a real hoot watching this young man now who's grown a little older grow up, not only personally but also in the construction industry. He's a very aggressive employee. We have to constrain him from time to time, and what I mean by that is that it's not unusual for him to not only practice his engineering science in the field, but he'll like to grab a shovel and get right down in the trenches with the contractors, or get on behind a wheel of a dump truck or behind levers of a heavy piece of machinery. So he's very aggressive in what he does. We are so fortunate to have him, and congratulations, Andrew. Look forward to a lot more years with you.
It's funny how nobody wants to ever talk when you're an employee. Is Ms. Markov here? Okay, and the last one in is Charlene Butler. Charlene and Kathy. Hard to believe that Charlene has been here for 30 years. So I talked to her over the weekend. Said she came and started working for the county right out of high school. So I'm sure it only seems like a couple of years ago, but you know, it's been 30 years. So, Charlene, thank you very much for your 30 years of work for the county, all of it in the circuit clerk's office. So what a great accomplishment for you. Thank you very much for your dedication, not only to the county, but to the circuit clerk's office. And hopefully, you know, retirement's right around the corner, maybe, I don't know. But congratulations.
I just wanted to take a minute to thank the county, and I especially want to thank Kathy for everything she's done for me. She's pretty much watched me grow, and so God willing, I hope I can retire. Thank you very much.
30 years, that's quite an accomplishment. She's a great employee. She's very loyal, obviously, because she's stuck around for 30 years. She started, I'm not sure where you started, child support originally. She's kind of bounced around. She's spent several years in the traffic department. She's now moved over to the small claims division, and she takes care of all my customers in that department, and she does a great job for me, and I'm really lucky to have her.
Have the minutes of the last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve? Made by Mr. Washington, seconded by Mr. Whitten. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Claims Committee report.
Mr. Chairman and members of the County Board, your Committee on County Claims would beg leave to report they have examined the following claims presented and recommend payment, and the clerk is hereby authorized and directed to issue orders to the several claimants payable out of the funds as follows. For the Highway Fund, $89,563.69. All other funds, $630,370.41. Total for the month of May 2008, $719,934.10. For the General Fund, $3,146,601.94. All other funds, $4,140,704.03, for a total of the month of May 2008, $7,287,305.97.
I have a motion to approve made by Mr. Vickery, seconded by Mr. Bossert. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Legess.
Aye.
Mr. Whitten.
Aye.
Mrs. Bernard.
Aye.
Mr. Marcotte.
Aye.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. McLaren.
Aye.
Mr. Vickery.
Aye.
Ms. Hertzberger.
Aye.
Mr. Nicholas.
Aye.
Mr. Lear.
Aye.
Mr. Scholl.
Aye.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mr. Foster.
Aye.
Mrs. Campbell.
Aye.
Mr. Kolecki.
Aye.
Mrs. McBride. Mr. Yates.
Aye.
Mr. Enns.
Aye.
Mr. Wittes.
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson.
Aye.
Mr. Tholen.
Aye.
Mr. Cruz.
Aye. Motion carries. Department reports.
On file, the County Collector's Monthly Report for April 2008. The County Treasurer's Report for April 2008. The Coroner's Monthly Report for April 2008. Total coroner's cases, 35. Total medicals, 83. Autopsies, 11. Toxicology, 13. And total in fees, $3,893. The Circuit Clerk's Monthly Report for April 2008. Total of $350,801.96. Recorder of Deeds report for April 2008. Total fees $120,327.25. County Clerk's report for April 2008. total of $15,467.05. Animal control report for April 2008. Total funds, $23,284.79. Total animals handled, 137. Monthly building permit report for May 2008. Total permits, 143. Total fees, $37,486. Monthly resolution list for June 2008, total to the county, $1,535. And the Iroquois Kankakee Region Superintendent of Schools, the receipts and disbursements for the quarter ending February 29, 2008 is filed.
Okay. Motion to place on file is made by Mr. Vickery, seconded by Mr. Washington. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to the items under the consent agenda. I will ask if there are any items that are wanting to be pulled off. Mr. Nicholas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you have letter R removed from the consent agenda, please?
Correct. Yes. Are there any other items? Mr. Bassett?
I'd request that item L be removed as well for separate consideration.
Okay. Any other items? Seeing none, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items except for items L and R. Motion by Mr. Vickery, seconded by Mr. Tripp. Mr. Hendrickson, can you read the items into the record, please?
A resolution determining prevailing wages for public work contracts in Kankakee County. Award of bids for section 08-00000-00-GM, supplement 3, section 08-05000-00-GM, section 08-07145-00-SC, and section 08-16132-00-VR, non-MFT. An ordinance and resolution for the establishment of an altered speed zone. Lease purchase agreement with Panasonic Finance Solutions for 10 video cameras and accessories for patrol vehicles. Resolution for the selection of judges of election. Reappointment of Frank Hasek as trustee to the Kankakee Township Fire Protection District. Reappointment of Larry Haddon as trustee of the Essex Township Fire Protection District. Reappointment of Ashley Lucas to the Historic Preservation Commission. Reappointment of Mardine Hinton to the Historic Preservation Commission. Reappointment of Terry Vaughn to the Board of Examiners and Appeals. Reappointment of Ralph Tribby to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Purchase of service agreement with Meadows Mennonite Retirement Community, DBA Show Bus, to operate the county's rural general public transportation service. Motor vehicle lease from Meadows Mennonite Home, Show Bus, to provide transportation for Kankakee County. Authorizing application for and acceptance of 2008 Downstate Operating Assistance Grant number OP-08-33-IL, contract number 3804 with the state of Illinois. Authorizing application for public transportation financial assistance under section 5311 of the Federal Transit Act of 1991 as amended, 49 U.S.C. 5311. Authorizing application and execution of a public transportation capital assistance grant under the Illinois Department of Transportation Authority. Authority of County Board Chairman to form an ad hoc public aid appeal hearing committee. Medical contract amendment and medical administrative director services contract. And a resolution authorizing the county clerk to expend HAVA funds for handicap accessibility at the Bourbonnais Park District Exploration Station.
Okay, we'll have a roll call vote.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Washington.
Aye.
Mr. LaJess.
Aye.
Mr. Whitten.
Aye.
Mrs. Bernard.
Aye.
Mr. Marcotte.
Aye.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. McLaren.
Aye.
Mr. Vickery.
Aye.
Ms. Hertzberger.
Aye.
Mr. Nicholas.
Aye.
Mr. Mr. Lear.
Aye.
Mr. Scholl.
Aye.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mr. Bossert.
Aye.
Mrs. Campbell.
Aye.
Mr. Kolecki.
Aye.
Mrs. McBride.
Aye.
Mr. Yates.
Aye.
Mr. Enns.
Aye.
Mr. Wittes.
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson.
Aye.
Mr. Tholen.
Aye.
Mr. Cruz.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll go on to the ones that have been pulled now. We'll deal with item R first, lawsuit reform. The other one kind of goes with planning and zoning. Mr. Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that the resolution be sent back to Executive Committee for further consideration.
Okay, there's a motion to send back by Mr. Nicholas, seconded by Mr. Yates. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say, oh, sorry. Actually, I don't think this is believable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just urge that this committee, when it goes back to committee, they are very thorough in their research and make sure they have all the facts on it. Because I did research this, and had this come up for vote today, I would have opposed it. Thank you.
All those in favor to send back in committee, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item L, the resolution to oppose the acquisition of the railroad. Let's have a motion on that first. Let's have Dan read it first, and then we'll have a motion, and then we'll start the discussion.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, resolution to oppose the acquisition of the Elgin, Joliet, and Eastern Railroad by Canadian National Railway Company. Whereas on October 30th, 2007, the Canadian National Railway Company, along with its wholly owned U.S. subsidiary, the Grand Trunk Corporation, filed an application with the U.S. Surface Transportation Board seeking approval to acquire the EJ&E West Company, a wholly owned subsidiary of the Elgin, Joliet, and Eastern Railway Company. And whereas the acquisition of EJ&E is not a component of the Chicago Regional Environmental and Transportation Efficiency CREATE program, a public-private partnership between Chicago, the state of Illinois, the United States government, and the nation's largest rail carriers. And whereas CREATE will invest $1.5 billion in critically needed improvements to increase the efficiency of the region's rail infrastructure without rerouting massive train traffic through small towns, residential neighborhoods, and unimproved at-grade crossings. And whereas the proposed acquisition could threaten implementation of the STAR line. And whereas the proposed acquisition plan, as outlined in the draft scope of the environmental impact study, will not include space for the STAR line right-of-way unless significant capital improvements are planned, approved, and funded. And whereas the Land Use Transportation Subcommittee of the Kankakee County Regional Planning Commission, at its regularly scheduled meeting of April 17, 2008, after review, discussion, and consideration, recommends that Kankakee County opposes the Canadian National Railroad's current proposal to purchase the EJ&E Railroad because of impacts to the surface traffic, and that Kankakee County recommends additional funding and study for public infrastructure to mitigate traffic safety and passenger rail issues. And whereas the Planning, Zoning, and Agriculture Committee, at its regularly scheduled and duly noticed meeting of May 14, 2008, after having review, discussion, and consideration, concurs with the recommendation of the Land Use Transportation Subcommittee of Kankakee County Regional Planning Commission. Now therefore be it resolved that the Kankakee County Board at its regularly scheduled meeting of June 10, 2008, after review, discussion, and consideration, recommends that Kankakee County opposes the Canadian National Railroad's current proposal to purchase EJ&E Railroad because of impacts to the surface traffic, and that Kankakee County recommends additional funding and study for public infrastructure to mitigate traffic safety and passenger rail issues. Therefore, be it resolved that the Kankakee County Clerk shall send a copy of this resolution to the Kankakee County State and Federal Legislative Delegations, the Chairman of the Surface Transportation Board, the President of the Canadian National Railway Company, the Secretary of the Illinois Department of Transportation, the Chairman of the Illinois Commerce Commission, and the Governor of the State of Illinois. Be it further resolved that the Kankakee County Board urges the United States Surface Transportation Board to not approve the sale of the Elgin, Joliet, and Eastern Railway Company, EJ&E, to the Canadian National Railroad.
And you have a motion to approve made by Mr. Washington, seconded by Mr. Tripp. Mike, can you just give a brief overview of what this is?
I'm going to let Mike do that. He
Okay.
has our transportation side.
we've got is a ring railroad around the Chicago area, and Canadian National wants to buy that railroad so they can have traffic to go around the city of Chicago, which is an admirable desire, rather than going through the city of Chicago. Freight traffic loses 3 days trying to get through Chicago. The problem is that the ring railroad that we're talking about has at-grade crossings throughout DuPage County and Will County, and the Canadian National is only proposing $40 million to provide grade separation, which is about the cost of 2 grade separations. The number of intersections we're talking about is probably in the range of 25 that have significant traffic. The size of the trains that would be on the tracks would be probably 2 miles long, and those surface intersections would be blocked for a number of minutes for each train passing. The other issue is that the Star Line, which is a circumferential line that Metro wants to do somewhere in the future to go from eventually Richmond Park all the way to O'Hare, proposes to use that same right-of-way. And if they build 2 freight tracks, there's no room left to provide for that Star Line.
Other questions? Ms. Hertzberger?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I voted no on this because, in my mind, we need to study how this affects Kankakee County. The resolution mostly is about DeKalb or Will County. It's my understanding too that the EJ&E is going to, if the Canadian National doesn't purchase the railroad, they will rent it to them. So the problem is probably going to be there anyway. With gas shortages or gas being high and trying to get trucks off the road, and railroad is the next thing that we have to deal with. And routing railroad to Kankakee County might be beneficial to us. So I think we should take a better look at what this might do for us economically before we vote on this resolution.
Okay. Mr. Bossert?
Yes, those are some of the same concerns I had. I attended the Planning and Zoning Committee when the presentation was given by Will County, and I understand the desire to help our neighbor in terms of an issue that they are opposed to, and yet I did not hear a thorough discussion of the alternatives for the Canadian National. Where are those trains going to go if they are not routed on the EJ&E? Are they going to really pick up more traffic through our county on the Canadian National? Is this just a matter of routing trains around Chicago and then continue on south? Or are they going to go somewhere else? They're not building more railroads in this country. The tracks that are there are going to be used. Canadian National will probably funnel more and more traffic down our line here, and that's a given. Like it or not, the rail industry is an economic engine for our part of the country now, and I feel a little troubled by basically poking them in the eye and trying to stop some effort at reorganizing the rail traffic around our region. Some of you may have seen the lengthy article in the Daily Journal over the weekend or yesterday about rail traffic and how Chicago is heading for gridlock in terms of railroads in our part of the country. And if this is one step in the process of helping alleviate that, I guess I want to see some alternative if we're going to oppose this.
Okay. Mr. Yates?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Does the county, via the planning department, economic development, or I'm sorry, the Economic Alliance, or any other entity which involves this county, have a stated or maybe the intended goal of getting involved in this intermodal concept?
Mickey, yeah, obviously intermodal development in the area is something that's happening. We're tracking the current trends along Route 80 as they go out to Seneca. Obviously, we have one of the major rail lines in the United States going through, well, 2 of them. One going north-south, one going east and west. And we're looking at that, but I think that what's is important to that, to just, attracting them, putting them in the right location so that they mitigate any adverse impacts that they may cause, and using some of the information that we're gathering from the north. I'm on the Will County intermodal task force. They're looking at the impacts of these things. And we'll be able to take those lessons learned from what they're experiencing right now to apply here to ensure that if we do get one, or when we get one, that we're making sure that it doesn't impact the environment, that it doesn't it reduces and mitigates the impact on the residents and on the infrastructure and the community. So that's where we're at right now.
Mr. H., did you have any follow-up or answer your question?
For now, that answers my question. For now. Again, okay. I just want to know in no uncertain terms, not no uncertain terms, I don't need to take concept, but just a simple yes or no or definitive, we definitely have an interest. The county does have some interest in intermodal. I think you answered that, yes. Thank you.
Ms. Bernard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What's the timetable for this Star Line?
Metro has not announced a timetable that I'm aware of for the Star Line. It's in their future plans and it has to be approved by the General Assembly.
Okay, because I know what a pain in the neck it is to sit at a railroad track and wait for a train to go by. At the same time, freight still has to move right now, and at $4 a gallon gas, a lot of smaller trucking firms are, or I'm sorry, $4 plus a gallon for gas. You know, smaller trucking firms are facing bankruptcy right now, so I think we really need to look at keeping these freight lines open.
Okay. Mr. Washington?
We're not just looking at the inconvenience of sitting at a rail crossing. Many of these grade crossings divide communities. And when you're talking about safety, how does an ambulance or a fire truck or the police get across a train that's running 2 miles long? And as long as that train is moving, there's no law that says that it can be prevented from doing so. So we're looking at safety more than anything else, and we're talking about the terminus of most of this rail traffic being in Memphis, so it's going to come right down through Kankakee County. It's not just Will County that we're talking about.
Okay. Anyone else first before I go back to Karen? Ms. Hertzberger?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to table this so further study and discussion can be done on whether this is good for Kankakee County or not.
Motion would be sent back to committee?
Yes.
Okay. There's a motion to send back to committee. Is there a second to that? Made by Mr. Foster. Although the motion now is to send this back to committee, PZA. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries to send back. That will be sent back. Thank you. And the next item, under PZA.
Sit here.
I have a motion to suspend the reading of this since it's rather lengthy. Motion by Mr. Legess, seconded by Mr. Kalicki to suspend the reading of the ordinance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the ordinance now? Made by Mr. Legess, seconded by Mr. Vitus. Will I have any discussion? Mr. Witt?
Thank you, Chairman. I voted no on this in committee because I was against the housing part. I think the sports complex is great, but I have a couple of questions. On the housing, will schools get an impact fee from the housing that goes in there?
Leo, if the Village of Bradley has an impact fee ordinance for the Bradley Elementary School District and the Bradley Bourbonnais Community High School, then I would have to imagine they will, unless they negotiate something with them. That would be between the village and the developers, okay? But typically that in our setting right here, I'd have to say that it would be applicable, but it would be an agreement between the village and the developer.
All right, another question is, under the Valley Enterprise Zone, I was understanding that it's supposed to create jobs, and the housing project will not create jobs. It'll create houses for senior citizens, but it will not create jobs. The sports complex, it will create jobs for both juniors and seniors, but the housing project will not create jobs. Am I correct in saying that?
They'll correct construction jobs.
But other than that, after it's built, there's no jobs. It's not creating jobs.
I'm not aware of any full-time jobs that will be created after that. I would defer to Jeff Bennett and Greg Yates, who are here. Greg obviously is the owner and operator of the sports complex and involved in the development, and Jeff has been representing them. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, or right now that's the housing that would develop the construction jobs, and then that's basically it.
It is a fully maintained facility, so there will be a maintenance crew.
The application, is it on?
It is now.
Okay. I'm Jeff Bennett with Bennett Commercial, and have been acting as an agent with Greg Yates and Blair Mitten. And the application was, as Leo mentioned, to retain and expand Hidden Cove to include a 50,000 square foot sportsplex. There'll be a $4 million investment there, and that would retain 20 jobs and create another 20 jobs. The second part of the project was to the villas at Heritage Woods, which is designed to offer adults 55 and older. We don't expect at this point children there, so we don't expect an impact on the school system, but in fact, if there are the village impact fees, those would be paid. The idea was one that fit the Village of Bradley's plans for senior housing. Currently, they have very successfully filled what's on Uncle Leo Drive, which are for rent. And the opinion of the Village of Bradley was this age-restricted facility for ownership was good for the Village of Bradley. Again, the request is not for any property tax abatement. What this avails the developer is sales tax exemption on building materials. We're estimating approximately $200,000 units. We did an analysis for the committee, which approved the proposal, that there's about a $4,000 sales tax exemption. The greatest portion of that would come from the state of Illinois. We've been to all of the units of government who have all approved the project at this time. This would be the final action to proceed. In essence, what we've calculated is if this were to be approved, the county would be participating in receiving about $460 in property tax annually going forward as these buildings were built. And there'd be a one-time sales tax exemption on building materials of $187. So we assumed it was an investment into the future for senior housing in the Village of Bradley, and that was the plan which was designed for the project. And the developers looking at you know, the savings as something that they could pass on to the residents.
Thank you. That one did not answer my question. My question was, once the housing project is done, is that going to create jobs?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Maintenance.
Because it's a maintenance-free community, Leo, so there'll be a consistent group on the grounds to keep the grounds up, to do snow removal. And also it's a little bit different in that there's a management group on staff with the seniors. And I think the most exciting part about it is to really use the sportsplex and the community that's adjoining to it to figure out how the residents